It was a quiet day in the Empire. The stars shined as usual, and everything felt normal. Ships moved peacefully between planets, and the Empire's space stations watched the skies. The people believed nothing strange could happen. They trusted their power. After all, the Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for many years. But something strange appeared on the scanner. In a dark control room on Station 14, Officer Krell looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. A red dot moved across the map, slowly but surely, coming closer. He tapped a few buttons and zoomed in. "That's not one of ours," he whispered. He called his commander. Commander Luthen came quickly. The room filled with quiet tension. "Where did it come from?" Luthen asked. "We don't know, sir. It just showed up." The signal was strong. The ship was big, bigger than normal ships, bigger than anything the Empire had seen recently. "Try to contact them," said Luthen. They sent a message. No answer. Another message. Silence. The signal kept moving, closer and closer to Empire space. "Should we stop it?" Krell asked. "Not yet," Luthen replied. "We need to understand what it is first." Across the galaxy, more stations picked up the same signal. Every officer had the same reaction. Confused, then worried. It wasn't fast like an attack. But it wasn't slow either. It moved with purpose. And it was heading straight for the Empire's central zone. In the capital, the High Command was called in. Leaders, advisors, scientists, and military officers all gathered around a giant screen showing the ship's path. "What is it?" someone asked. No one had an answer. They tried to compare it to other ships in their database. It didn't match anything. Not from the outer worlds. Not from trade ships. Not from old enemies. Then one young officer spoke carefully. "There's one match. It's human." The room became silent. "Human," a senior leader repeated. "That's impossible. Humans disappeared many years ago." "But this design matches their old warships," the officer replied. "And the signal code, it's very close to human technology." Some laughed. Some looked nervous. One leader stood and said, "This must be a mistake." But the screen showed something else. The ship had stopped, right at the edge of Empire space. And then something happened. The ship sent a message. It was short, just 2 words. "Human warship." No greeting, no warning, just those 2 words. A second message followed. "Stand by." That was all. The leaders looked at each other. Some turned pale. Others stayed quiet. Memories from old records came back. Stories told long ago. About humans. About their strength. About how they left the galaxy after a great war. No one knew why they left. No one knew where they went. And now, it seemed, they had returned. But why? Why now? And why send only one ship? The Empire had hundreds of ships, stations, and weapons. They were powerful. But something about that one ship made them feel small. It was not the size, not the shape. It was the silence. The way it moved. The way it watched. In the darkness of space, the human ship did not move again. It just stayed there, waiting. Like it had a reason. Like it knew something the Empire did not. Commander Luthen watched the screen. His voice was low. "They're not here to talk. They're here to remind us." "Remind us of what?" Krell asked. Luthen didn't answer. He just looked at the message again. "Human warship, stand by." In that moment, everyone felt the same thing. This was not a visit. It was a message. And the whole Empire had received it. The message from the human ship spread quickly. Across the Empire, officials received it on their screens. Scientists, military leaders, and even news reporters stared at the same 2 words. Human warship, followed by stand by. No one understood what it truly meant, but everyone could feel the weight of it. The High Command building on the central planet was suddenly full of voices, feet, and confusion. Leaders rushed in, whispering to each other. Advisors held data tablets close to their chests. Guards stood silent but alert. Inside the main room, the Empire's top leaders sat at a large round table. Their faces were serious, their eyes locked on the giant screen that showed the human ship, still unmoving, still waiting. Chancellor Miro, the oldest and wisest of the group, raised his hand. The room slowly became quiet. "We need to think clearly," he said. "This is not just a strange ship. This is history returning." A younger leader spoke, "But the humans are only a story. Records from long ago. We don't even know if those stories are true." "They are true," said Chancellor Miro calmly. "I saw them as a child. Just once. Before they vanished. They were unlike anyone we'd ever known." Everyone listened carefully now. The Chancellor never lied. And he never spoke about the past unless it truly mattered. "They were builders, travelers, thinkers," he continued. "But they were also firm. When they said something, others listened. And when they warned someone, that someone usually listened fast." He pointed to the message on the screen. "This is not a greeting. It's a reminder." Across the table, Defense Commander Selka leaned forward. "We have more ships. We have stronger engines now," she said. "If they want to cause trouble, we should show them who controls this galaxy." Miro looked at her and shook his head slowly. "That kind of thinking is why we must be careful. This ship is alone, yes, but it is not afraid. And it is not running." "Then what do they want?" another voice asked. No one answered. The question floated in the room, heavy like fog. A soft beep came from the communication panel. "New scan results," said a technician. "The ship's systems are advanced, much more than anything we've seen. Even our best scanners can't read everything." Another leader frowned. "So we don't know what's inside." The technician shook her head. "No, it's like it's hiding something, or everything." The silence returned. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A voice began to speak from the center screen. It was calm, smooth, and somehow familiar. A voice speaking clear, perfect language. "Empire Command. This is Captain Raynor of the human ship Deliverance. We come in peace, but we ask for privacy as we complete our task. Please do not interfere." No one moved. The voice continued. "We know your history. We know your strength, but we also know your fear. Let us pass. That is all we ask." Then the screen went dark again. The leaders sat still, almost like statues. "Did he say, complete their task?" Someone whispered. "What task?" asked another. Chancellor Miro looked thoughtful. "They're here for a reason, but it's not to fight. Not yet. That much is clear." Commander Selka stood. "We must send a response." "What kind?" Miro asked gently. She paused. "We ask them to explain. More than that message. We need answers." A message was sent back. A simple one. "State your purpose." They waited. Minutes passed. The ship did not reply. It simply remained there, still and silent. Outside, in the deep blackness of space, the human ship sat like a floating monument. Lights ran along its sides, glowing softly. It did not blink. It did not turn. It simply watched. Back inside the meeting room, a scientist named Tolv spoke quietly. "I read old notes about human ships. They were smart, like living things. Some could even decide things without the captain's word." "You mean the ship itself might be awake?" someone asked. Tolv nodded. "Maybe. Maybe not. But this one is watching. That much is sure." The idea made the room cold. What if this ship was not only a visitor, but a test? A test to see how the Empire would react. Would they panic? Would they send their own ships? Or would they listen? No one knew the right answer. But one thing was clear. The humans had returned. And they were not here by mistake. The hours passed slowly. The human ship, still floating at the edge of Empire space, had not moved. It gave no signal, no answer, no change in position. It was just there, watching, waiting. Inside the command center, the tension had not gone away. The room was full of quiet whispers, blinking screens, and minds racing with questions. Everyone felt like something important was about to happen, but no one knew what. Commander Selka walked to the large window at the edge of the chamber. From there, she could see the stars and a small dot in the distance. The human ship. It looked so small from far away, yet it felt heavier than any planet. She turned back and faced the others. "We can't keep waiting forever," she said. "This silence is worse than action. What if they're gathering information? What if we are being studied?" Chancellor Miro remained calm. "Then let them study," he said softly. "Let them see who we are now. Let them see that we do not act out of fear." "But what if their task," she replied, "is to test us?" Another officer added, "Or warn us." Everyone turned to the center screen again, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Suddenly, a soft tone echoed through the room. The screen lit up, and a symbol appeared. It wasn't words. It wasn't numbers. It was an image. A planet. A small one. Mostly blue, covered in clouds. "Earth," whispered an old scientist, her voice shaking. "That's Earth." Few people in the Empire had ever seen the image. It was the humans' home planet, long thought to be lost or unreachable. Some even believed it was just a story told by old traders. But now, the human ship had sent it. No words, just that quiet, powerful image. The scientist looked closer. "They are not asking for something. They are showing us something." "What does it mean?" Selka asked. "It means they remember." Miro looked at the image. "They want us to remember too." For a moment, no one spoke. Then a second image appeared. This time, it was a fleet of ships. Not human ships. Empire ships. A scan from the past, maybe. But the details were clear. These were Empire ships flying near a small moon. The date in the corner showed it was many years ago. The room fell even more silent. That mission had been kept secret. The Empire had once sent ships toward a region believed to be where humans once lived. But they never found anything. Or so they said. But the image told a different story. Someone had been watching. "They saw us," Selka said, her voice low. "They saw everything." Now it was clear. The humans didn't just return randomly. They had a reason. They remembered what the Empire did. They had been watching all this time. Quietly, silently, like shadows in the dark. A third image appeared. A star map. But something was different. A part of the map was marked. A blinking dot. "That's not us," said one technician. "That's outside our control." The dot marked a planet far from the Empire's core. A forgotten world. No one had visited it in many years. Some said it was empty. Some said it once had life, but was left behind when it no longer held value. The blinking dot grew larger on the screen. Then the words appeared. "Do not enter." The message was short, calm, but serious. "Do not enter." Selka repeated. "That's a warning." Miro nodded. "A clear one. They have claimed that planet, or something on it, and they do not want us there." "But why now?" someone asked. "Why not say this years ago?" Miro looked thoughtful. "Because maybe, now it matters. Maybe something has changed." Another leader stood up. "We should send a ship to scan the planet. Quietly, just to see what is there." Miro raised his hand. "No, that is exactly what they don't want. But we can't let them control our space," the leader replied. The screen blinked again. This time, it showed something new. A timer. Just numbers. Counting down. It started from 48 hours. "What happens when it reaches 0? A young officer asked. No one had the answer. But now, it was no longer about the ship. It was about time. The humans were waiting for something. or giving time for the Empire to decide. To listen, to act, or to stay still. The Empire's leaders had a choice now. They could ignore the message. They could explore the marked world, or they could wait and watch. Each path held risk. Each choice carried weight, and the clock had already started ticking. The countdown continued. 40 hours now. Inside the great hall of the Empire's High Council, the leaders gathered again. Their faces were serious. Their eyes showed worry. Some walked back and forth. Others just sat, thinking deeply. The message from the human ship had changed everything. No one knew what would happen when the countdown reached 0. Would the ship leave? Would more ships come? Or was it just a test to see how the Empire reacted? No answers, only time. Chancellor Miro stood near the center table, where a 3D map of the region floated above a glowing platform. His hand moved slowly through the air, zooming in on the planet marked by the humans. "This world was once part of our trade path," he said, "long ago, but it was abandoned." A scientist nodded. "We left it after the water supply ran dry. Nothing grows there anymore." "But the humans marked it. That means something is there now," said another voice. "Or someone," added another. The room fell quiet again. Then came the idea. "What if we send a drone?" Commander Selka asked. "Just a small one. No crew, no sound. It won't enter deep space. Just orbit around the planet, quietly." Miro didn't answer at first. He looked at the map again. His eyes were filled with thought. "If we send the drone," he finally said, "we show them we do not trust them. But if we do nothing," Selka said, "we show we are afraid." It was a difficult choice. In the end, they agreed. A drone would be sent, but not from the Empire's main base. A hidden station, far from any colony, would launch it. Small, silent, and fast. The drone would reach the planet before the countdown ended. The order was given. The drone launched into the dark. It moved quickly, hidden between stars and cosmic clouds. No sound, no light, just data collecting and silent spinning. Back in the Empire's capital, all eyes were on the screen. The drone's signal was clear. It moved closer to the marked planet. Soon, the first images came in. Desert, empty fields, dry land. Then something strange. A shadow, a shape, something not made by nature. "It's a structure," whispered a technician. Zooming in, they saw more. The building was smooth and round, made of dark stone. It didn't look like Empire design. It didn't look like human style either. It was something new, or something old. Around the structure were small lights, blue and soft, like they were breathing. Not machines, not fire, something else. And then something even stranger happened. The drone stopped moving. Not broken, not damaged. It just stopped. The screen froze. The signal stayed strong, but no new data came in. "Is it being blocked?" someone asked. The technician checked. "No, the drone is working. It just isn't sending more pictures." Miro leaned closer. "It's like something is holding it in place." The countdown continued. 34 hours left. Then a new signal appeared. But it wasn't from the drone. It came directly to the Empire's capital. Not a voice, not a video. It was sound, a pattern, a slow rhythm, like breathing, like heartbeats. Then a simple voice followed. Soft, calm. "You were asked not to enter." It was not a warning. It was not angry. But it was clear. "You were told," the voice continued, "to wait." Everyone in the room stood still. This was no longer just about the ship. The humans knew everything. They had seen the drone. They had stopped it. And now they were speaking. "Your choice matters," the voice said. "How you act now will be remembered." Then silence. No more sound. No more signal. The drone disappeared from the map. Just gone. Vanished. The room filled with quiet tension. No one could speak. What they had just seen was impossible. But it happened. Selka turned to Miro. "They are not testing us. They are teaching us, or reminding us," Miro said, "that the past is not forgotten." Now, only 30 hours were left. The Empire was being watched. Every move mattered. The leaders had a choice: speak to the humans, ask questions, seek understanding, or wait and hope the countdown did not bring something unexpected. Outside the window, the stars remained still, but something, far out in the dark, was no longer silent. The countdown continued, now closer to 25 hours. In the Empire's High Council chamber, the silence was almost unbearable. Everyone felt it. Something important was coming, but no one knew what it was. Commander Selka stood by the window again, her eyes fixed on the stars. She was thinking about the message from the human ship, the mysterious voice, the strange planet. It had been too long since anything like this had happened. The Empire was used to control, to making decisions without fear, but now they were the ones being watched. Miro stood beside her. He was calm, but his mind raced with thoughts of what to do next. "We don't know what they want," he said quietly, "but we can't keep waiting." Selka turned to him. "We could try reaching out to them again. Maybe speak to the humans directly. Maybe they will answer. Maybe they'll tell us what this is all about." "I'm not sure if they will," Miro said. "They have already shown us that they know everything. They don't need to explain. They want us to figure it out ourselves." The tension in the room grew heavier. They were all aware that time was running out, but none of them knew how to act. The human message, the mysterious planet, the drone that had vanished, everything pointed to something big. Something that the Empire had either forgotten or chosen to ignore. Something that the humans wanted them to remember. "I say we send a diplomatic envoy," said Chancellor Miro after a long pause. "Not to the planet, but to the human ship. Let them know we are ready to listen." Selka shook her head. "A diplomat? You think they will talk to us? They've made their message clear. They don't want us to go to that planet." Miro's eyes narrowed. "It's not about the planet. It's about what happens when the countdown ends. We need to show them that we're ready to move past the fear." "And what if they don't care about our fear?" Selka asked. "What if they've already made up their minds about us?" "We don't know that," Miro said firmly. "And if we don't reach out, we may never know." The clock continued ticking, each second bringing them closer to the unknown. There were no more easy choices. Everyone felt the weight of the moment pressing down on them. Then an officer spoke up. "The drone's signal. It's returned." The room went still as everyone turned to the main screen. The map of the area flickered for a moment before the drone's location appeared. It was back. But it was no longer near the mysterious planet. It had moved far away. The data was fuzzy, but it seemed to be hovering near the edge of the Empire's space, close to a dark nebula that was rarely explored. "That's not possible," someone muttered. The technician working on the drone's feed tried to adjust the settings, but the image remained the same. The drone wasn't just back. It was somewhere the Empire had never planned on going. There were no sensors there, no satellites, nothing. Just darkness. "The humans," Selka whispered, almost to herself. "They've turned the drone around." Miro's face grew serious. "They've sent it somewhere else. But why? Why move the drone? Why put it into the darkness? Was it a message? A warning? Or something else entirely?" "We don't know what this means," Miro said, his voice low. "But one thing is clear. We can't keep ignoring them. They are leading us to something. Something that could change everything." The countdown timer ticked down to 20 hours. A few minutes later, the room went quiet once again. The drone's signal flickered and disappeared. A second later, the mysterious voice returned. "You have made your choice," the voice said, calm and unhurried. "You are no longer blind to what is hidden. You are awake now. What you do next will show who you are." The message was simple, yet it carried more weight than any words had ever carried before. There was no anger, no judgment, just a cold certainty that they had seen enough, that the time for waiting was over. "Are we ready to act?" Miro asked, his eyes scanning the room. Selka stepped forward, her decision clear. "I think we've waited long enough." Miro nodded slowly. "Then we must make our move. We will send an emissary, not to the humans, but to the heart of their power, to the place they've hidden from us." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the officers began to move. The plan was set in motion. The countdown continued, but the Empire had already decided. They would act. They would face the unknown. And they would not wait any longer. The room was filled with a quiet hum as the Empire's leaders gathered. The decision had been made. The emissary was preparing to leave, a small fleet of ships ready to follow its lead. They would travel to the heart of the human mystery, to the place where the drone had vanished, to the edge of the unexplored nebula. For hours, they had discussed the plan. The risks were clear. No one had ventured into that region for years. It was a dangerous space, one where even the Empire's most skilled explorers had lost contact. Yet there was no choice now. The humans had sent their message, and it was impossible to ignore. Commander Selka sat in the corner, staring at the map of stars projected before her. The path to the nebula was clear, but everything beyond that was a blank, a void. No data, no exploration, just empty space. Miro entered the room, his gaze fixed on the stars. "We can't turn back now," he said quietly. "We've come too far." He was right. No one could afford to turn back. The message from the humans, the mysterious disappearance of the drone, all pointed to something important, something they needed to understand before it was too late. The emissary's fleet was ready. It was made up of smaller, faster ships, designed to avoid detection and stay out of sight. The goal was not to be seen, not to provoke, just to observe, learn, and hopefully make contact. With a final look at the map, Miro nodded. Launch. The fleet moved quickly, silently. Their ships disappeared into the vastness of space, heading toward the edge of the nebula. As they left the Empire's known territory, they felt the weight of the unknown pressing in on them. They were no longer in control. They were walking into a mystery that had yet to be solved. The journey was long, but as the fleet neared the nebula, something changed. The stars around them began to flicker, dimming as if they were being swallowed by the darkness. The usual patterns of space seemed to twist, as if reality itself was warping. "There's something here," Selka said, her voice sharp as she watched the readings. "The nebula is affecting our sensors. We're losing connection with the rest of the fleet." Miro glanced at the readings, his brow furrowing. "Keep moving forward. We can't stop now." The fleet pressed on, deeper into the unknown. As they approached the center of the nebula, the feeling of unease grew stronger. It was as if something was watching them. The stars seemed to disappear entirely, replaced by a strange, glowing mist that surrounded them on all sides. Then, just as they were about to cross the final threshold, the radio crackled to life. The voice that had once spoken to them came through again. This time, it was clearer, more direct. "You've come far," the voice said. "Too far, perhaps." For a moment, the entire fleet froze in place. The voice seemed to echo in the air, filling the space around them. They had crossed into the heart of the mystery, and now, the humans were speaking to them again. "What do you want from us?" Miro asked, his voice steady, but with an edge of curiosity. "Why are you hiding in this place?" There was a long silence before the voice replied. "We are not hiding," the voice said, calm and patient. "We are waiting, waiting for you to understand, for you to see what you have missed." "What have we missed?" Selka asked, her voice filled with frustration. "We've followed the rules. We've waited. We've done everything you've asked." The voice responded with quiet certainty. "You have waited, yes, But now it is time for you to learn. Suddenly, the mist around them began to shift. Shapes began to form out of the glowing clouds, shapes that were familiar and yet strange. Towers of dark stone, covered in ancient symbols, began to appear in front of them. They were massive, reaching up into the stars, their surfaces smooth and untouched by time. The fleet moved closer, mesmerized by the sight. The structures seemed to hum with energy, as if they were alive, waiting for something. This is what we've been looking for, Selka asked, awe in her voice. Miro said nothing. He could barely believe what he was seeing. The structures were unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. They were not human. They were not Empire. They were something entirely different. Ancient, powerful, and beyond understanding. "We have always been here," the voice said, as if reading his thoughts. "And now, you are here too." The fleet moved closer, their ships drawn in by the power of the structures. There was no force stopping them, no danger to their movement. It was as if the place had opened up to welcome them, inviting them into its depths. But Miro knew something deeper was at play. They were not the first to come here. Someone, or something, had been here long before them. And now, they were about to uncover the truth. He looked out the window at the structures, feeling a deep sense of unease. They had entered the heart of a mystery that was far greater than the Empire. And they were no longer in control. The countdown was almost over. They had come too far to turn back. And now, they had to face whatever came next. The fleet had reached the heart of the unknown. The towering structures hovered in front of them, their surfaces glowing softly, as though they were alive with energy. The silence of the nebula had enveloped them, leaving only the quiet hum of their ships and the faint crackle of the communication system. Everything felt different now. They were no longer in control. The mystery had become their guide. Commander Selka stood at the front of the command ship, her eyes locked on the massive structures. "What are these things?" she whispered to herself, more to the void than anyone in the room. "What have we walked into?" Miro stood beside her, his expression unreadable. He had led the fleet here, but now even he was unsure of what came next. The voice had said they were waiting for them to understand. But what was there to understand? What did the humans want them to see? Approaching the central structure, the navigator called out, "Sensors still offline. We have no way of knowing what's inside." The tension in the room thickened. Everyone knew that the Empire had faced countless challenges, but nothing like this. This wasn't just another enemy fleet or a new planet to conquer. This was something entirely different, something ancient, filled with secrets they had not even begun to uncover. Selka took a deep breath. "Prepare to dock with the structure. We will go in, but we do it together." The fleet's ships began to move closer, gliding toward the massive structure that seemed to pulse with life. The closer they got, the more they felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. It was as if the very space around them was alive, watching them, waiting for them to make the next move. "Should we send a team inside?" one of the officers asked, breaking the silence. Selka hesitated. "We'll all go in. We won't send anyone alone into the unknown." The ships docked with the central structure. The doors opened, but no one had to push a button or give a command. The structure itself seemed to recognize their presence and opened to welcome them inside. It was a moment that left everyone breathless, like stepping into another world. Inside, the atmosphere was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The walls were smooth, shimmering with strange patterns that seemed to move and shift with their every step. The air was thick with energy, almost humming with life. The temperature was perfect, comfortable, as though the space was designed for beings like them, even though they had no idea what kind of beings had created it. "It's beautiful," Selka murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "But what is it?" As they walked further in, they began to see more. Large, open chambers stretched out before them, filled with artifacts, strange devices, glowing symbols, and what appeared to be the remnants of old machinery. Some of it was clearly advanced technology, but other parts seemed ancient, untouched by time. "This place feels old," Miro said, "like it's been here forever. But who could have built something like this?" They didn't get an answer. Instead, the voice returned, echoing in their minds. "You have entered our domain," it said, calm and patient. "Now you must understand." "What do you want us to understand?" Selka asked, her voice steady but filled with wonder. "What is all of this?" "You have asked many questions," the voice replied. "But the answers are not what you seek. They are what you must become. You are on the brink of a great change. Your species, your empire, have forgotten the truth, forgotten what lies beyond the stars." A moment of silence passed as they continued walking deeper into the structure. Selka felt a strange pull in her chest, a sense that she was about to uncover something that would forever change the course of their history. The structure seemed to call to them, urging them forward, urging them to see beyond the veil of what they thought they knew. "Are we supposed to join you?" Miro asked, his voice trembling slightly as he asked the question that had been on everyone's mind since they arrived. "Is that why we're here? To become part of this legacy?" The voice responded again. "We do not seek to join you. You seek to join us. Your species, your minds, are capable of far more than you know. But you must learn to see the stars differently, to understand what lies beyond the surface. Only then will you be ready." "What do you mean?" Selka asked. "What is it that we need to understand?" The room seemed to shift around them, the walls pulsating as though the structure itself was alive. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, their movements becoming more erratic. "You must look beyond your fears," the voice said, "beyond your walls, your control. Only then will you see the path that lies ahead. Only then will you know the truth." And with that, everything changed. The walls before them shifted, revealing a massive screen, larger than any screen the Empire had ever seen. It flickered to life, showing images of distant galaxies, of ancient civilizations that had risen and fallen across the stars. The images flashed by so quickly it was almost overwhelming. But amidst the stars, amidst the ancient worlds, there was one thing that stood out, a symbol that was the same as the one on the drone, the same as the one in the message. The symbol was everywhere. "This is what you must understand," the voice said softly. "The galaxy is not what you think it is. You are not the first. You will not be the last. But you can choose what comes next." The screen faded, and the room fell into silence once more. The weight of the words hung in the air, and for the first time, Selka understood. They had crossed into something far greater than themselves. They were no longer just explorers of the stars. They were part of something much older, much deeper. The countdown had ended. The galaxy was watching. And now, it was their turn to decide.